Today I want to talk about a reboxing of an old CMK kit. It's a Skoda LT VZ35, or better known as Panzerkampfwagen 35T. The front box art shows the Panzer 35T at full speed during the early days of World War II in Poland. Revell do nice box arts, but they don't mean much to me. They're a piece of art, but they don't tell anything about the kit. The reboxing was released in 2013. Skill level is 4, but Revell's skill levels only depend on the number of parts. A lot of large parts are easier to assemble than just a couple of small parts. You can't rely on those skill levels, and Revell should try to find a better way to determine them. On one side we find some pics of a built and painted model. I marked the critical parts for you: the tow cable, the leaf springs, the joints of the track segments, and the tools. On the other side there's a brief history of the tank, and it comes in 4 different languages: in German, in English, in French, and in Dutch. Since Revell Germany do only reboxing of armor models, except for modern German armor, it's a bit of gambling. You can get brilliant kits or the opposite. Let's see how this one is. As usual for Revell, all sprues are packed in one bag. I never found any damaged parts in my kits, but I prefer the sprues packed separately. Sprue A comes twice and contains all the parts for the running gear. We have length and link tracks. I like them much better than vinyl tracks, but of course not as much as indie link tracks. The return rollers, more track segments, the leaf springs, idler wheel, and one part of the drive sprockets. The bogies and more drive sprocket parts. There are 9 pairs of road wheels on either side. That's quite a lot, and I'm really looking forward to cleaning them up. The tracks don't look too bad. Those circles in the center of each link aren't ejector pin marks, so there won't be much cleaning up to do. And now let's turn the sprue over. Even this side of the tracks looks okay. No need to buy any aftermarket tracks. Compared to the price of that kit, they'd be way too expensive. The same goes for all aftermarket sets, and there are many of them available. There's no detail on the inner side of the bogies, but there won't be much visible as far as I can say now. The road wheels look nice, and up to now there wasn't any flash at all. But now for a very sad story on this kit. There are 4 pairs of leaf springs, and they look like this. They'll be fully visible from the side, and I can't use them that way. Trying to score the lines between the leaves appears to be more difficult than building the whole part from scratch. That's what I'll do then. On Sprue B we find all the parts for lower and upper hull. Since there's no interior included, I don't mind the ejector pin marks. I'll only use the tow cable's eyes and make my own tow cable from copper wire. As I said, I don't care about the ejector pin marks on invisible areas. The machine guns have some nice details, and they'll pop out after a wash. CMK must have been kidding when they sculpted this jack block. This part looks really bad, and I'll build a new one from scratch. The bolts on the upper hull look nice. I bring them out with dry brushing and a final pin wash. There's even a bit of texture. There isn't much detail on the underside of the lower hull, but it doesn't bother me at all. The tank will be placed on a diode. The sidewalls look nice, although they'll be almost hidden completely behind the running gear. Some more exterior parts like the exhaust, the final drive housings, the machine guns, and the rear plate. Last but not least, Sprue C with the turret parts, the fenders, and the tools. All ejector pin marks will be invisible. really like the turret's exterior with all these bolts. Again, there's some nice texture. I'm not sure, but I think Škoda used rolled steel, so the texture is just about right. And now for a couple of parts where I wasn't sure if I should laugh or cry. The jack and the tools look, well, let's say very basic. While the jacks and dragon kits are a bit over-engineered, CMK decided not to go over the top. The same goes for all tools. There'll be some scratch building necessary to give these parts a nicer appearance. Typical Revell instructions with a picture of a built and painted model. Again, there's that bit of history, but now only in German and English. I skipped all the safety instructions, and here we have the color call-out. Only Revell paints are mentioned, but at least we have the colors' names, so we could use whichever brand we prefer. I like these mixing charts for paints. That's really old school. Most modelers buy matching paints, but it's a good exercise to mix them. Here we have the sprue map. Steps 1 to 5 show the assembly of the running gear. The lower hull needs to be assembled from a couple of parts. There's a bulkhead in the middle which makes a proper alignment easier. Drive sprocket and final drive assembly. The front road wheel has to be glued into place. After looking at the instructions, I decided not to follow the order of the steps, but I'll tell you more about it when I get round to building this tank. Bogies and idler wheel are to be attached. The return rollers, 4 pairs on each side. And here we have another critical step, the assembly of the tracks. There are longer segments and single links. It's crucial to position the segments exactly. Step 12 shows the assembly of the hull's front plate. Upper and lower hull come together. Adding the exterior parts. I can't understand why some manufacturers insist on making tow cables that need to be bent. I won't do it because I'll build my own tow cable, as I already mentioned. The last exterior parts. Assembly of the turret, the vision blocks, the gun mantlet and the machine gun. There are 2 to choose from. Revell didn't take the time to tell us which is for which version. I built the German version, and according to the box art I'll have to use part B11. The gun barrel looks very basic. The muzzle brake consists of 2 parts. Unfortunately, the sprue gates cover some of the holes. I'm not sure if these 2 parts could be built in a way that they look nice afterwards. I might try to build the muzzle brake from scratch. There's an ABA gun barrel available, but I don't want to spend extra money on this kit. There are 2 painting and marking options. One is German and has to be painted in Panzer Grey, and the second one is Romanian and the color is dark green. The decals were printed in Italy, like most Revell decals. While the original CMK decals had options for 2 German tanks and 1 Czech tank, we only have 2 options to choose from. The decals aren't too thick and should lay down nicely on the model. If you want to build the Romanian version, it might be a good idea to look for aftermarket decals. As you can see, the Romanian cross is not in register. I can't say anything about the fit of the parts now. The kit is rather simple, although there are many parts. Most parts look okay, but some don't, and that's where the headaches begin. There are loads of aftermarket parts available to turn this kit into a very nice and accurate model. They would make this kit very expensive. You should think and calculate carefully to find out if it's worth it. Or go for the Academy kit instead. I'll change what I don't like, and if I manage to do a decent job, I'll be satisfied with the result. It's a nice base to practice some scratch building. I really wonder if the kit itself is a nice build. I'll keep you posted.